Why do I need to define values? But as soon as your organization is reaching, 50 people, 70 people and above, if you don't do it, you start to see hiccups. So we strongly recommend put a pen and paper together and write them down. What do you believe in? What is your product trying to achieve? What are your values? And once it's being defined, it's becoming your North Star.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. I'm honored to be joined today by Shay, the managing partner of Greenfield Partners. Shay is an experienced entrepreneur and investor. Currently, he is the managing partner of Greenfield Partners, a technology investment fund focused on growth stage technology companies. He serves as senior advisor to TPG and previously was managing director of a New Jersey-based family office. Prior to that, he was vice president of corporate development at ad tech firm WebCollage, acquired by Answers.com, the CEO of eGlue, acquired by NICE, and vice president of product at Alfy. Shay is a former Israel Air Force IAF Ep569 fighter pilot. Welcome, Shay. Shay Greenfield, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
It's great to be here. Thank you for coming to our office.
Thank you for hosting me in this. I wish I could just show a 360 view here. We're in the beautiful salon area in the middle of Midtown, the center of Tel Aviv. Yeah. You're positioning yourself right in the intersection as a bridge from the venture side to the growth side as an early growth fund with Series B, C in the Israel ecosystem. Very non-trivial. To be talking about this, 2021, the Israel ecosystem, your background as an executive in previous companies, sitting on the board of some of the most amazing companies that I follow very closely, Mixtiles and Big Panda and many others. And I'm really excited to just pick your brain in these 20 minutes about your understanding on the market, coming and being a bridging gap for these founders. Tell me a little bit about yourself before we even get to Greenfield.
Sure. I came to investing late in my career. I started my career actually with a long service in the Army. Following that, I moved to the US and was doing pretty much what our CEO is doing right now. I was leading companies in that same stage of finding the product market fit and taking it to market in the US. So spend the next 10 years, once I moved to the US, first of all, getting education, but
Colombia,
right,
among others.
Among others, but in parallel, actually building sales teams, building marketing motion, building customer success, understanding all the stages that are after product market fit. Many people miss that point, and there is that next stage, which is product market sales fit. Mm-hmm. It's actually adjusting your product so it will sell better, and you can create a machine that is replicable. Right. And that's the stage I was focusing on the next 10 years. And then I moved to the investment side, and first in a family office, and then joining my partner Yuda for TPG Growth, and then we established Greenfield Partners.
Beautiful. Spinning out with TPG, you're still advising TPG Growth.
Right.
This is different. You're understanding that something different needs to happen in the ecosystem here that is between venture and between growth. What is that something?
So, as you look at the journey of a company from the seed round all the way to the IPO, there is that step where you got your first 10 customers, where you got the understanding that your product work. Mm-hmm. And now you need to build a company that can actually absorb much more capital and scale up.
Right.
And that stage is complicated. It's complicated because you can make so many mistakes that will take you 18 months back, and it's hard to recover. For example, and I've done those, hiring the wrong VP of sales. Not only you go into a phase of realization, but then to recover from that, very, very costly in terms of time.
I think that's a really interesting point, and I want to dwell on this because, I think from the outside, it can very quickly seem that, okay, great, yeah, we reached product market fit, we raised $5-10 million. Now we have $40 million of capital of sometimes preempt in the market today. Why is it not just flip the switch and just do everything but more? What is the complexity that you're describing here?
People that have been there and are going to be there get it. It's not simple. First of all, it's not simple to find the right people, typically in the US, that will be able to absorb the culture of the company. Right? In the beginning, you were three founders sitting together and then hiring more people, but all of you are sitting in the same office, and suddenly you're hiring people across the ocean. How do you project your culture and your vision to them? How do you get them to act in the same way that you think is right? Then following that, how do you create that efficiency that people will actually drive the business the way you want? It's not flipping a switch. So finding the right people is one. Then the second one is, what KPIs do I put? How do I know how much I compensate? How do I know what's the right goals to put for the salespeople? How do I train them? How do I create a training program that will be and will get them up to speed as quickly as possible? You can actually get a salesperson to be efficient in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months, depending on what type of organization. Is it an enterprise sale where the average ticket size is 300,000? Is it a mid-market, 50,000 ticket size? Are you going with 50,000 ticket size to the enterprise? Are you going with direct sales where you put in 3,000 and you have land and expand? All of those issues are complicated, and you need to really think about and set the right KPIs and the right mechanism in order to be successful in that.
Tangibly, where are you in this intersection? So you've done this yourself, running companies. Now you're investing in B and C stages. You're working with these founders who may never have had these complexity and these experiences. Maybe they built a great product. How do you actually interact with them in the day-to-day that may be different than if it was a private equity or a bigger growth fund that would come in and simply push a lot of capital there?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm saying, listen, I'm here, but if you don't need me, do whatever you want. From a philosophical perspective, if the CEO is on top of everything and doesn't need me, it's fine. But before we invest, we try to align on the 3-4 most important things that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. And I'm asking the CEO, where do you want me to work for you? What can I take to push forward for you? So I take one assignment on myself that is critical for the company that can help you. The second thing, if the CEO wants, we will put a 30-40 page deck that will actually put him against similar companies similar companies in his or her category, and will benchmark the company that we just invested in against the competition, and we'll actually show those benchmarks in the B round, the C round, the D round, and we'll say, listen, you're here right now, but this is where we think you can manage to. And then the third thing is we'll work very, very closely in thinking together with who do you want to hire and how, and help interview, help vet those people, both on the board level, because many times you want to hire good people on the board that will advocate for you as you cross to the US, and also on the executive level, VP sales, CMO, VP customer success, etc.
Right.
So 3 things is the hire, on the backwards order, the hiring, the KPIs, and, very, very important goals that you want us to work with you and achieve.
Now, where are we today in terms of 2021? Obviously, we're seeing dramatic shifts both in the Israeli tech scene, but globally. Where are we in terms of the ecosystem today that this is more relevant now than ever?
10 years ago, companies would hit product market fit, will reach 1, 5, 10 million in sales, and they'll get an offer, and many companies were happy to be sold for
right.
$200-300 million, and the investors were happy. We're seeing more and more companies going for the scale stage, and that's exciting because first of all, we have talent that has been there before. So when we invest in a company, many times we can say, hey, did you consider taking this guy as your advisor? And so we have a much larger ecosystem that can support the scale. So we advocate and we speak a lot with our CEOs on how do you define and why do you want to define values. And in the beginning, for a CEO that is so busy in finding product market fit, it sounds ridiculous. Why do I need to do it? Everybody around me, everybody get it. We've all been together in the army or in another place. We know each other. Why do I need to define values? But as soon as your organization is reaching, 50 people, 70 people and above, if you don't do it, you start to see hiccups. So we strongly recommend put a pen and paper together and write them down. What do you believe in? What is your product trying to achieve? What are your values? And once it's being defined, it's becoming your North Star. Dilemmas are showing on a day-to-day basis. When you start scaling up and you have a lot of people in your organization, questions are coming. You can't control everything.
Right.
And here's a dilemma. And how do I react? How do I VP react? And suddenly you have a North Star. You're asking people, look at the values. Does it match our values? If it matches our values and we can do it, it's acceptable. Let's expand. If it doesn't match our values, okay, let's assess and act. It's becoming super, super critical because you want to empower yourself as a CEO and actually bring the people around the world to act like they are you.
Right.
And that's the only way to do it.
And it sounds to me that what you're describing here, one of the ways to empower from a founder's perspective, others to make decisions and to be able to release that power, understanding that you want to bring the best people from the different backgrounds to handle the specific verticals. It's through those aligned values and through being very intentional about them that then you're able to be more comfortable in exerting that power, right?
And you know what? I'm a huge believer in that philosophy across everything I do with my kids, with the people around me. I typically like to align on the basic things, even on my day-to-day, and then allow people to act as freely as they can. And let's connect again on if we have dilemmas around what we're doing, but I hate to micromanage. And I think the CEOs, when they come to that stage, they have to release a little bit their micromanagement, their, OCD issue. We know how you have to start, but at a certain point you have to grow from it, which is critical.
Back to Greenfield, where we're at right now. So a little bit about the investing philosophy, a little bit about about your portfolio. It's not just an intersection between venture and growth. What is really Greenfield about?
So we do want to be that bridge between venture and growth. We want to prepare the company from a governance perspective, from a go-to-market sales fit perspective, from the maturity to absorb the next check of 50 to 100 million. But we also want to be very conscious of where do we invest, and we want to create and invest in companies that overall create positive change in the world. And even though, our responsibility towards our LP, first of all, is to make returns, et cetera, we do bring that question as part of our investment decision. And ESG is part of what we're thinking about and is part of what we consider as we move forward. It doesn't have to be each time, environmental change, et cetera, but you do look for places that are creating and moving the society to a positive direction.
I love it. Shay, I have a few more questions about you.
Yeah.
And I want to take you back to your childhood. Before you were an Air Force pilot, before you became an investor, before you were an executive, childhood, what really fascinates you in the world? What really sparks your curiosity?
I was very, very involved in a youth movement when I was young, and actually spent majority of my time after school, every day in activities that had some social change in social. I won't say mobility, but wanted to impact society in many ways during those years. A lot of work in volunteering and actually leading other people to volunteer and taking leadership position. And it was a very big difference that happened when you actually joined the army, right? From that activity to another activity that is involved more in the army. But actually now, making a full circle, and finding myself again in this position, thinking again about what we're doing in a more, in a deeper level. How do we impact? What do we do? How do we actually bring and invest money in those companies? What does it create? How do those companies actually move forward? How do they impact all the people around them, the employees, and all the environment around the company? Because there's much more than just the employees of a company. So we spend times around that. And for me, it's a full circle from the childhood.
And I think that's a perfect segue. Where do you find inspiration today? And whether it's in the day-to-day, whether it's a specific occurrence, what inspires you to continue working so hard after everything that you've done already?
We're lucky to be here and see the amount of innovation and the entrepreneurs that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. They come with amazing ideas and they come with amazing ability to execute, which I don't think we had 20 years ago. It's amazing the learning curve and how the learning is being accumulated around and actually coming down to people that can execute on their ideas. And that's exciting to me. It's actually very inspiring every day to come and listen to those ideas and see how I can help and how can I join the story. Together with that, what I'm trying to bring and the inspiration for myself as well is to, how do I bring a way and a peace of mind to the hectic, crazy world of a startup? How do I help the CEO?
I can feel it in your energy that you exert here.
It's a day-to-day challenge. How do you open your morning? How do you center yourself every morning? How you center yourself before each decision?
Yeah.
How do you understand, with all the noise around you, what's the logical way to act? What's the way to act that is actually respecting everyone around you? For the CEO, it's the employees, the shareholders, the customers. For us as investors, it's the same thing. And for us as human beings, every decision we make, how do we respect our families and the people around me and the people around that are, helping us to do what we do? And how do you do it in a very, very centric way? And that's my small inspiration. It's how to actually project that to the people that I work with and to the CEOs and to the other board members.
And what are 3 words you would use to describe yourself?
We spoke about work in most of our discussion, but I think my first word is evolving around family, because at the end of the day, I have big part of my brain thinking right now on what is my son doing and where are they and my wife and the dog and the cat. So family man is probably one, and the other 2 words are probably leader and team player, because and maybe team player more than a leader, and maybe leadership through team, because in many places I'm trying to actually bring and help people find the right way to go without being too visible in the leadership. Is ask the right, my leadership many times comes through asking the right questions rather than, and that's everywhere, even in Greenfield or elsewhere, it's asking the right questions and allowing people to actually take themselves to where they want to go.
Shay, toda rabba. Thank you very, very much. This
really
is wonderful.
Pleasure.
It's inspiring, and it's making a huge impact on the Israeli ecosystem, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Thank you.